One of the questions I get asked a lot is, can you explain what it means to be a stained glass spirit community? And of course, there's more information on my website about it, but the short version is to first imagine a beautiful stained glass window. And imagine all the colors and the shapes and the textures that make it so beautiful when the sun shines or the light hits it. And it's just magnificent and so beautiful. What if our spiritual communities were the same way? That every person who is a member of our community or a guest, someone who's engaging in our community in any way, they're each very different. And what binds us all together is our understanding of and our love for spirit. And when the sun shines, when all of the people are working well together, it has that same powerful effect. So a stained glass spirit community is a community where there are many, many, many different types of people who are encouraged to be who they are and bring their experiences, their culture, their talents, their perspectives to play, to bear in the creation and expansion and evolution of that ministry, of that spiritual community, of that church. And when I'm working with organizations around stained glass spirit ideas, there are a number of ideas that tend to focus on. And in this particular video, I want to really talk about being unintentionally unwelcome. It's the place that we often start, because often if we say we want to be a stained glass spirit community, we want to be inclusive, we want to be respectful, and we want to grow and grow with many different kinds of people. That's what we want. And we don't recognize all the ways that we are unintentionally unwelcome to people who are new, to people who don't know our jargon, to people who are coming into new thought from different religious and spiritual backgrounds. And so when focusing on what are some of the ways that we are unintentionally unwelcome, I tend to work within three frameworks. Framework number one is, what are the myths? What are the myths about even ourselves saying we want to be inclusive? What are the myths that we have to really look at about what it means to be open and welcoming? What are some of the myths that we need to recognize as myths so that we can then be clear about what it really means? And a lot of times the myths that we believe end up with us pushing people away unnecessarily and unknowingly. So myths, mistakes. We make a lot of mistakes in how we behave around people who are new to our community, or people who are visiting to participate in an event or a class. And so we have to look at what are some of the mistakes we make. We also tend to make mistakes in the way we interpret our new thought philosophies, our metaphysical philosophies, and sometimes even our biblical or Christian-based philosophies and beliefs, that we make mistakes in how we interpret them or what we believe about them, that then limits us and puts a box around what we do. And then the third thing that I often focus on is a framework around our mindset. So what is our mindset for being welcoming or desiring people to come and join our community? But sometimes our mindset really is, I really like things the way they are right now. And yeah, I want a lot more people to come, as long as I don't have to change. As long as we don't have to listen to different kinds of music, or as long as we don't have to start doing things differently. And so if our mindset is not in the right place, then we also begin to push people away because someone comes in and they are very expressive, and maybe they are giving the person who is speaking verbal feedback, and has not been the pattern in the past, and they get looks, eyebrows raised. Or the person who comes to the community and they are expressive, and the community has not been so expressive up until now, and they are excited and they stand up and applaud, or they stand up and move to the music, and people look at them, raise their eyebrow, and make them feel uncomfortable, or even come and tell them, oh, like, we don't do that here. So our mindset about what our culture is and what we are willing to change and adapt, because the thing that is true, without any exception, when we decide we want to build an inclusive spiritual community, we all must change. The new people coming in may change because they're learning about us, but as we learn about them, we too must change. And we must move from being unintentionally unwelcome to checking off all the boxes for the diversity welcome factor, which is another part of the process that I use when I am assessing or consulting or coaching spiritual communities. So diversity welcome factor, inclusion worship factor, outrageous outreach, and intentionally inclusive are all elements of the stained glass spirit intentionally inclusive process. And what I've shared with you just now is getting you thinking, I hope, about what it means to be unintentionally unwelcome, and looking at that as the first step to becoming open, to becoming welcoming, to becoming accepting, and preparing your spiritual community to be inclusive. My name is Tracy Brown. I've been sharing with you a little bit from the Stained Glass Spirit framework for being intentionally inclusive and becoming a spiritual community where oneness does not require sameness. You can always find more information at stainedglassspirit.net.